Howdy y'all, this is Trisha and I am back, and today I am going to be making a French onion soup. And what do I need to make my French onion soup? Well, I will need some onions that I will julienne, and I think I'm going to use these two large onions right here. And I'm going to julienne them in a French cut, which is why it's called French onion soup. Haha. Okay, so I'll need some onions. I will need some olive oil, just some extra virgin olive oil, or your choice, really. I don't want a lot of the olive oil flavor, so I'm using extra virgin. It does call for some dried cherry, but I'm going to use some balsamic vinegar. You can use a cherry if you wish. You can use a red wine. You can use a balsamic vinegar. It's your choice, really. Just add a little bit. It's all you're going to need. If you are going to use a wine or a cherry, it's going to cook, so the alcohol will evaporate. I will need some beef stock, and this is about, it's 4 cups unsalted. It's very important that you use unsalted because we are going to salt our onions as we saute them, so we don't need it to add any extra. It all depends on you, but I do recommend unsalted. We're going to need some butter, some unsalted butter again, and I'm only going to use a little pat of it. I'm not really going to use the whole thing. Just happen to have a brand new stick. Some artisan cheddar. Okay, you don't have to use artisan cheddar. You can just use a white cheddar. You can use a Gruyere cheese, mozzarella, whatever your favorite cheese is. It can be a yellow cheese. It doesn't have to be a white one, but I'm going to use a white one. Okay, so I'm going to need some fresh thyme and just a little sprig of this, little batch about that much, little handful. Chop it up real nice and fine, and I'll need some salt and pepper to taste, and of course a little bit of, well, not of course, because who would have thunk, some sugar. I'm going to need some sugar, and this is going to help me caramelize my onions. That's why I'm going to add a little bit of sugar, and of course I need some nice toasty crusty bread or some croutons, whatever your favorite bread is. You want to toast it and get it real nice and crunchy toasty, or if you want to use croutons, it's up to you. You can make your own croutons. I bought this garlic bread. It's got paprika and parsley on it. Looks good. So I thought, I'm going to cut this up into little pieces and use that. Of course, I'm going to need a pot. Got a nice sized pot here where I'm going to saute my onions first, and then I'm going to add my liquid ingredients. So first, I got to get to chopping those onions, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back, and I've been chopping up one of the onions, and I've got all these little slivers, and some of them are thicker than the others. I tried to do as close as I could each one. So basically here you can see that it's chopped as thinly as I could possibly do it, and some of them are a little bit thicker, like this one for example, but that's about as thick as they get. Now you can cut them a little bit thicker if you wish. You can make them even smaller pieces if you wish. If you want to go ahead and chop it up instead of julienne or French cutting them, you can go ahead and do that. There's some pieces that are actually kind of bigger, and I'm going to go ahead and slice those up a little bit smaller because I do like my the onions to be really thin. You know, sometimes people don't, you like the flavor of onion, but you don't really want to bite into one. And these are going to get really caramelized, so they're going to be nice and tender, so they're not going to be so bad to bite into. Actually, it's going to be nice to have some texture to bite into, but you want them as thin as you can. So you want to see how I started off with my onions so you get an idea, for those of you who have maybe not really cut an onion before, or maybe not in this way. Let me show you. Basically, cut off these little edges. Okay, just cut off that part. And I'm going to take the peel off. Of course you would too. I don't think anybody wants to eat the peel part. Let's just take all that off. Should be easier than this, but it's not right now, because I'm doing a video, so why should it be, right? Okay, so sorry. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and cut this. How did I cut it? Oh my gosh, in half like that. So you can put the flat part down, cut straight down. so that you have these two halves. And then you're just gonna put them down flat on the part that you've just cut. And instead of cutting here where you get these little half moons, which you could do, you could cut it that way, this way, but I'm going to cut them this way, all the way. Same over here. This is the way that I'm cutting it. You can cut it the other way if you want. And just as thin as possible. I need to get it at an angle where you can see this. Get your fingers curled under, actually. It's hard to get a grip that way, but if you practice it, and you can. I kind of sort of dig my nails into things a little bit. Okay, once I get to the point where it's like, this is an odd way of cutting it, I'll just turn it over and start up again. I can't see what I'm doing, so I'm going to just turn it so that I can. I don't want to cut myself. Okay. There we go. Here we go. They're all... let me get that little bit off because I obviously didn't cut enough on the little tippy tips when I first cut them. Okay, so here we go. We've got some nice onions. And now these are going to go up here with my other batch. And I'm going to cut this other one. How much do I have here? I am going to guesstimate... there's at least 4 cups. There might be 6 cups of onions here. And that's because it was 2 large, really large yellow onions. And you really want to use like a yellow sweet onion. So if you can get yourself on a sweet yellow onion, use those. Those are the best really for your onion soup. You don't want it to be too bitter, so you want to make sure you don't get those white ones. Or you can use like 4 small ones like this. It all depends on how much soup you want to make. I want to make enough because I want to share with some of my family. My mom and my sister-in-law, so I'm trying to make a little bit extra and take them some, and really and truly it's really just going to be me. Maybe my husband will have a little taste of it, so I wouldn't make too much. Probably make 1 onion if I was just doing it for him and that I want to share. So I'm making 2 big onions, and like I said, this is about at least 4 cups, maybe 6 cups of onions when I'm done. Hard to tell. I need to put it in a big bowl. But that's about as much as I've cut. You can just cut what you think. Now remember, when you do caramelize this will reduce some. So it's not like, oh, this big, amount of onions. Look at these pieces. I need to make sure that I go through them and pull out pieces like that because I don't want that. I want them to all be thin. And they all look pretty good. So I'm going to go through that, and then I'm going to come back and show you how I'm going to saute them. All right, so I'm back, and I've got my pot here on my stove, and I'm going to add some olive oil, enough to cover the bottom of my pot here. Get it all the way. I've got it on high right now because I wanted it to get hot. Then I'm going to lower the temperature. Now I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter to my pot. You can hear it sizzling. And just get that butter melted in there. I don't want it to burn. I'm going to go ahead and lower to a medium, and it smells so good already. The smell of butter, of real butter, versus margarine or something else is really good with this olive oil in there. Okay, let me move this back a little bit so you can see a little bit more. Okay, now I'm going to put my onions in there because this is melted. Throw them all in there. Oops. I'm trying to get some not to fall out the sides, but they did. Let me get them before the rest of the stove gets hot. Okay, there you go. Throw them in there. And move them around a little bit. The parts that didn't really separate. I went through them and I tried to cut as many as I could, a little bit more, but some of them I went ahead and I just left them. Okay, so now I'm going to add some salt, and salt is really to taste. So I'm going to add like about 2 teaspoons salt. And I want to add lots of black pepper. And I recommend that you grind this ahead of time unless you're using already ground black pepper. And that's really your choice. Okay, here. Lots of it in there. I will add some more later when I add my broth, just to make sure. Okay, so this is going to now simmer. I have it on a medium heat, and I'm going to keep my eye on it. I'm also going to add about 2 teaspoons of sugar. Again, this is so it helps it caramelize. I saw someone doing a recipe adding sugar into it, and I went ahead and I tried it, and I really liked it, and I remembered, thankfully. I liked the little sweetness that it kind of gave it, but it wasn't too much, so it was nice. This helps the onions caramelize. This is going to take about 30 minutes. You want it on a medium to low heat, on a low temperature. Same thing, heat, temperature, doesn't matter. I'm looking for my lid, sorry. Okay, so then I'm going to cover this and allow for the heat to remain inside the pot. But I am going to be stirring it occasionally, okay? I don't want to just leave it there and forget about it. I want to come back and I want to stir it. I may lower the temperature some. I don't want it to burn. You have to keep an eye on it. Basically, babysit your onions, and I think this is probably why a lot of people don't want to make it, because you do have to stay here and watch your onions and stir often. I shouldn't say occasionally, because I don't want to say constant either, but I do think you should be here often stirring your onions. Keep an eye on them. Do something else here in your kitchen, watch some videos, but pay attention to your pot. Approximately 30 minutes, and I'll be back. All right, here's something that I forgot, my time. So while I have it there sauteing, before I have to stir it again, I'm just going to remove it off these little stems, these little leaves. Just remove them off of here, and then I'm just going to throw them into my my onions that are being sauteed. And I don't want these little branches, so just take your time and take them off, and then add them to your sauteing onions. Here's my basil all chopped up here. This is going to go into my pot with my onions. And it was time that I stirred. Oh my gosh, and it smells so good. It smells so good. My onions are starting to soften. I just realized I wasn't really paying attention to the time. It was 5:45. It's 5:49. 5:45 about the time that I put the lid on it. And so I'm going to go according to that. So 6:15, that's 30 minutes later. That's when onions should saute. Now they are going to release a lot of juice. That's just going to help it to cook down. And that's because I have it covered. So I know it's not going to be dry in there and burn, but I will uncover it the last stages so that I can allow that to brown. Okay, here are my onions in the last 15 minutes to go. So they have been sauteing for 15 minutes, and I had the lid on them. And now I've removed the lid, and I'm going to let them continue and let them brown. That's my cat, sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and add some of this balsamic vinegar to them right now. If you had dried cherry or you're using a red wine, he's hungry, I'm sorry. Are using a red wine, you would put that now so that the alcohol would evaporate from it. Obviously my balsamic vinegar doesn't have that, but I'm going to add that because I want that to add to the color as I finish sauteing. Alright, we've got about 2 minutes left to continue sauteing this. I've been stirring it, and as you can see, they got nice and translucent, and some caramel is starting to form, and kind of mushy, kind of nice. I'm going to go ahead and let them saute just maybe a little bit more than 2 more minutes. And I've gone ahead and also cut up some bread into these big crouton size slices and just a little bit of the bread. And I've gone ahead and toasted in the oven at 350 for about 5 minutes, just so they got toasty, because once I cut it up, they were kind of soft on the inside and only the outside was crunchy. And I want the whole thing to want it to be crunchy, because I am going to put it in my soup, and I don't want them to get any softer or mushier. So that's what I've done, and I'll be back. All right, it's been an additional 5 minutes here that these have sauteed, and I feel this is satisfactory to me. You may want to saute them even more, you know, cause like little burn bits on the bottom, which will remove once you've added your stock or beef broth. I'm hungry. So I think this is good. I'm going to go ahead and add my 4 cups of broth into this. Now you don't have to add 4 cups. You can just add, you know, half of that, like 2 cups, about so much. If you don't want it to be too liquidy and you just want a little bit of it, but I'm going to go ahead and add 4 cups. I want to make sure I have enough to share. And obviously some of this is going to cook down or simmer down, not too much. Some of it is going to simmer down a little bit during the next 15 minutes if this is going to need to be simmering in here. So I'm going to lower my temperature. I'm going to put it on simmer, cover it up, 15 minutes. This will be all right. Here's my soup. It's been sauteing for 15 minutes. I did pick up the temperature on there a little bit. I did add a little bit more salt and pepper and a little bit more of my balsamic vinegar to it. I tasted it and I decided that it needed a little bit of more of that. So go ahead and taste yours while you're simmering it, and if you feel like it needs a little bit more of those seasonings or the vinegar, go ahead and add that in. It's been 15 minutes and it's about ready to come out. All right, I've already gone and pulled my soup from the stove. It's nice and hot, and like I said, I flavored it a little bit more, and I'm satisfied with the way it tastes. Instead of the 15 minutes, I did go almost 20 minutes, so it was about 18 minutes. I've got my little bowl ramekins here for my soup. I'm going to pour the soup in there. I've got 4 of them, so I'm going to do 4 little bowls. And I don't want to fill it up too much. Maybe about halfway, a little bit more maybe. Make sure you don't fill it up all the way to the top. About halfway. Fill up all of them, and with your crusty bread, you want to put that on top of that. I'm going to put about 4 of these pieces into each of my little bowls. I've got my cheddar cheese that I've sliced. You could shred it. You could have one big slice, have separate little slices like I did. I'm going to put 3 of them on here. Nice thick slices. 3 of them on each one. You can add however much you want. I'm going to put them back into this same square, not back, but I'm going to put them into this same square pan that I toasted my bread in. I'm going to put my little bowls in there because I don't want any spillage, and if there is, it'll go into this rather than all over my stuff. So you make sure you put them in an oven safe pan or, you know, baking dish. And then stick them in there. I'm going to put them at 350, and I am going to bake them at the top closest to the broiler about 10 minutes. I'm going to check them. I want my cheese to be melted and bubbly. So I want my soup to be bubbling and my cheese to be nice and melted. You could leave it a little bit longer if you want the cheese to brown. We'll see what 10 minutes will do to this, and we'll be back. All right, I pulled them out of the oven. I can hear a little bubbling going on. It's been a little while. They've cooled off a little bit, but you can see the cheese all melted in there. They're so pretty. Look at that. Take them all out so you can see them. They all look the same, all nice and pretty and hot, and they smell so good. And let's see. Dig into it. Look at that. Oh, delicious. I can't wait to have that in just a bit. I hope you enjoyed my recipe, and if you have any different ideas on how you would make this or what little changes you would make, or if you tried it and if you liked it, let me know in the comments below. Also link your video if you have one that you'd like to share, and I would love to go watch it. So go ahead and leave that in the comments below. Please give me a thumbs up on my video and subscribe to my channel. As always, enjoy.